The Guitar Teacher Volume 3. This is a question that I get a lot. It's not from a specific person, but from many of my students over the years. And it's when you're first starting, like, how do I get to a chord more quickly? Because a lot of times people, let's say, they're playing something in C and they have C, F, and G chords, or C, F, and G chords, and they're trying to get there more quickly. So let's say my strumming pattern is I'll just do a down, down, up, so an eighth, quarter and 2 eighth notes. So 1, 2, and 3, 4, and then I'll go to the F chord, 1, 2, and 3, 4, and then the G chord, 2, and 3, 4, and back to C, 2, and 3, 4, and. So when somebody starts playing the guitar, for most people to get to a C chord, it is not a one motion thing where all fingers are ready and then they all land at the same time. It's more often this kind of thing. Also, most people will start with their index and middle fingers because they have more strength and control with them. So if I start with those fingers, then I often have a harder time getting this finger in place. So my first recommendation is to start with the weaker fingers, the ones that we don't have as much strength and control with, so the ring and pinky fingers. Or for guitar players, that's fingers 3 and 4, different than piano. So ring finger, then middle, then index. Try to be as close to 90 degrees as possible, and try to make sure that you can hear all of the notes. Once you have that, then try to lift your fingers and hover above that spot and then land all together again. So it's a strum and then a lift off of the strings and then land again and strum. And I call that strum and lift. So we strum, lift, and I recommend doing that 12 times per chord that you're having trouble getting to. So let's say, I'll cover the chords in the key of C for this lesson today. So we got C, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then once you get that, you can always pause the video and rewatch and go over that again. And then we'll try D minor. So D minor, I do play with my pinky. When I started, I played it with the ring finger, but there are several reasons to use the pinky, at least as far as I'm concerned, because then you can alternate your bass notes pretty easily. Also, you can place this finger closer to the fret without reaching quite as much. So it tends to sound cleaner most of the time as well. Alright, so that's my D minor, strum, lift. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The 3 chord in the key of C is E minor. Strum and lift 12 times. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Then F, some people play it this way, some people play it this way, whichever one you like. There's also F major 7, which has an open first string. Sometimes that's easier for people at first. Alright, so here's this 4-string F. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then the G chord is the 5 chord. Strum. Most people play it this way at the beginning. Sometimes people will switch this. If you're going between a lot of G and C chords, that's an easier change. But this is the way most people learn it. Alright, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Alright, then A minor is the 6th chord. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. B diminished is the 7 chord. You can do it this way. Most people would also play a G7 instead, or you can do a B minor 7 flat 5, which is more of a jazzy chord. That works well as well. So here's a G7. We'll just do that as a substitute for B diminished. So we got a G7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then you're back to C. All right, so in doing that, you will develop more strength, control, and dexterity with your fingers. And that is really a lot of how we get to chords more quickly. Keep in mind, like, if I want to get to a chord and I'm doing it this way, and I try to speed up that process, it's still only going to be so fast, So you want to be able to get to the point where you don't have to think about it. So if I go through the chords in the key of C, in order, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So C, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, B diminished, or G7, and then back to C. All right, so that is a great way to start getting a little bit better and a little bit quicker at getting to chords. And then I would practice those with any chords that you're having trouble getting to. When you're learning a new song, sometimes you'll have like 4 of the chords, but maybe the 5th chord is something new to you and your fingers aren't used to it yet. So if you just kind of make it a habit of any new chord that you're having trouble getting to, you just do that strum and lift 12 times and then move on to other things to practice. You will get better at that chord in no time. Another thing is finger placement. So a lot of people don't realize that if I have, say I'm going to take this pencil with no eraser, pretend this is my finger and I'm pressing to try to get this G note clearly. If I go to the middle of the fret and press, a lot of times it buzzes a little bit. If I go closer to this fret and use the same amount of pressure, it does not buzz. So here's a C note. If I go this way a little bit, it starts to buzz a little. So if I move that closer to the fret, so finger placement, we want to practice trying to keep our fingers close to the frets. Now there are chords like D, for example. It's pretty hard to get this finger close to the fret. I can technically do it, but it's a little impractical to do that. So if it's farther away, I have to press harder with that finger. There is the idea that to do something quickly, we want to use less exertion, less strength, right? So if I grip like this really hard and then I let that go, I can't really move my fingers super fast out of a fist position. So if I'm really like pushing hard on this note, it's very hard for me to lift that finger and move it somewhere else. But if I'm lightly pushing, so if you watch like soccer players, ballet dancers, or dancers of any kind, football players, if they're on their toes, if they're just moving like super fast, they can go anywhere, any direction. Our fingers are very much like that as well. If we're gripping super hard, you can't move quickly to the next thing. So we want to try to lighten our grip as much as we can, but still get clean notes. And the way that we do that is to stay close to the frets whenever possible. Certain chords it's less possible, like an E chord or an A chord, however we play the A chord. There's always a finger that's farther away from the fret. So for that reason, we have to press harder on that string. Otherwise, it will buzz a little. All right, there you go. So there are a few tips on how to get to chords more quickly and to switch chords more quickly. And I hope that helps. Please like, subscribe, and share if this was helpful. Thank you. See you next time.